are that one intelligence, what I call, for a word, different label on it, intelligence energy, the activity of knowing. And there's no one in this room who is not knowing right now. When a seed sprouts, it knows that it is. It's not saying I know that it is. It's not using any words, concepts or ideas or anything. Just in that knowing, it sprouts and grows from there. The bird, you, I, knowing that we are, that existence or beingness, different labels we put on it. But there's never been anything or will be anything than that one. So you can't give it any name, any shape or any form. Because it is, as they say, the cognising emptiness with the capacity or to cognise or know or be. And knowing is another word or form for intelligence. It's an innate intelligence that's in that cognising emptiness. It goes into every pattern, shape and form that it vibrates as and expresses as. And it's never changed its true nature, it's never been divided, never separated from anything. But all you can say about it is no thing whatsoever. And every apparent thing is that. Everything is that's the Mahaveka, the great mantra. I am that, this is that. We know that innately. Because if you say that's a chair, that's the carpet, that's the house, that's the car, that's you, that's me. It's all that which we put different labels on which have discriminated it, set it apart as some discriminating concept or idea or image. So in the recognition and understanding and knowing that that is all there is, what is there to get? What is there to lose? What can be attained? What can't be? And what is there that is not that? The getting, the being, the attaining, and the losing, and everything like that is all the one essence. I can use the analogy of the one stick, not the stick that hasn't got one end. It's got two ends. So the way this manifestation functions, the good, the bad, the pleasant, the painful, the happy, sad, are two ends of the same stick. And we try to discriminate. We want the good, we want to hang on to the good, and don't want the bad. Can that ever happen? It can't. Because if you cut the bad end off, what would be left? If we still had that end there, and what would it form as? Always got to be seemingly two ends to it. So it's only the one essence. So everything is that. And you have never, or will ever, or can ever be anything other than that. So what is there to search for? What is there to seek from that point of view? That's why we say start from the fact that you are already that. And the search itself becomes the problem. Because the search implies there is something I haven't got, but if I do this mantra, read this book, along what the scriptures tell us we need to do to attain it, meditate, read the scriptures, do all this Guru Seva and all the rest of it, and all these other things we've got to do to try and become something, and realise that becoming is not being. There's no such thing as becoming. There's only being. Becoming implies a future time. That's why that needs to be looked at also, and see that time itself is a concept, a mental concept, and investigate these things and see for yourself, because nobody is ever going to do anything for you at all. And then we believe that, we come to believe in a lot of things. We believe that we can go to one of this guru and he'll tap you on the head with some peacock feathers, or hit you between the eyes with the thumb, or do something else, or whisper a secret mantra in your ear. And all these things will enable you to become something. But how can you become something that you already are? And this is what we miss out on. It is one essence that's patterning, shaping and forming and appearing as everything. There's no scripture that's worth its salt will tell you anything other than that. No religion will tell you anything other than that. But it's seemingly obscured with all the different concepts we put on, you know. Non-duality, duality, and all the rest of it. Buddhism, Dzogchen, Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, Muslim, all the rest of it. Every ism comes from dualism, capitalism, communism, Catholicism, Protestantism. And there is absolutely no ism in it whatsoever. The simplicity of this is missed, and has continued to be missed, because we don't hear what's being said. We don't take it on board. We hear this, oh, that sounds good, that rings a bell, that resonates, but I'll go down the road, there's something better down the road, or the next book, or the next thing I look at on Facebook, or in my computer, will give it to me. Does it? Have a look and say, if it did, what the hell would you be here for? What would anyone be here for? So that's what we point to. This believes in ego or self-centre, which is the problem. And you're told that in the scriptures too. That's the thing that comes up, the self-centre, the reference point, or the ego. Everything becomes relative to the self-centre, reference point, or ego. There's three expressions of the one thing. And they tell you, again, those scriptures that are worth their salt, the ego is a fiction. It's a total fiction. It's believed in self-centre. It's me. It's a fiction. It never existed. But you can't see that because you've taken on the belief when you learnt words, when you learnt the language, and the energy of belief has consistently gone into that ever since, and you think you're going to work it out in the mind. But when you look at mind, you'll really investigate that, you'll see there's no such thing as mind. Mind is nothing but thought. Thought is nothing but a vibration. And a vibration is nothing but a vibrating, but seeming somewhat a throb or a pulsation in nature itself. That cognising emptiness seemingly sort of vibrates, and it vibrates like the energy going through the ocean. It'll cause a tiny ripple to appear. That ripple will become a wave, and a wave will become a big billow. But it's nothing other than water. Different ways we pointed out, it's all the one essence. Appearing, patterning, shaping and forming and everything, and you can't even say it's an essence. It's nothing that can be grasped with a concept. No thing whatsoever. And when you understand that all this manifestation is made up of things. You and I and every other pattern, shape and form in the manifestation are things. Patterning as this thing or that thing or some other thing. Can something come from nothing? Because that's all the emptiness, the changeless background, the silence and the stillness is no thing. No thing whatsoever. Can something come from no thing? It's impossible. So, all the manifestation is still that no thing. And when you understand, I am the no thing or the nothing, we think of a vacuum or a void or emptiness. But out of that no thing, pattern, shapes and forms appear, seemingly so. And that's why they call it a phenomenal manifestation. The definition of phenomena is that which appears to be, seemingly so. That's what all it ever is and all it ever will be, a seeming pattern, shape and form. And there's many ways you can look in nature and see that happening. The water in the mirage, you're driving down the road and you see what appears to be a pool of water, which is only the sun shining onto the bitumen and the heat rising from that seemingly shimmers or vibrates and it appears as a pool of water. Drive up to it, it disappears. Where is the water? appears to be water. Where is it? It's not there. When was it ever there? And you realise it never was there, never could be there, but it appeared to be so. The blue sea. Go down to the ocean, I'll say, get a bucket of blue water out of the sea. You'll say, don't be ridiculous, because you've investigated that. You know you can't. But walk away from it, look back on it, what is it? It appears to be blue. The sky out there appears to be blue. And going overhead, it seems to be a dome. It seems to be something solid. But it's got no static point to it, no shape or form to it whatsoever. All these things, the rainbow, go outside in the day and see a rainbow appearing in the sky, and when you investigate it, you see it's the cloud, the sun shining through the mist of rain or water vapour, and reflects back on that blue dome on the sky and breaks up into colours. Like you'll shine a light through a crystal and it'll break up into colours. What colours are there? None whatsoever. This body seems solid and substantial. Put it under a microscope and see. You'll see there are great gaps in it, space. Space is emptiness. Pattern, shapes and forms, and every cell in that body is suffused with an innate intelligence. Each cell knows what to do. A liver cell is not going to become a heart cell or a brain cell. A skin cell is not going to become a liver cell. Every cell is suffused with that intelligence. The two cells that formed you, the sperm and the ovum, two cells full of that innate intelligence, knowing what to do. The sperm swam to the ovum, proving it's not just a blob of goo, it's had the capacity of swimming. And there were thousands of cells there. Not all of them make it. And that's how nature is. It's prolific in its manifestation. There are thousands of seeds on that tree outside. Not every one of them will sprout. And some of them become food for something else. Some of them do all sorts of different things. But some will make it to the ovum and know what to do when it gets there, penetrate the ovum. And the ovum itself, the egg, it's suffused with that innate intelligence. It knows what to do also. It attaches to the wall of the uterus. And when those two come together, what happens? Those cells double and redouble and forms a little embryo, the little fetus that forms you. And that's what you are. We've lost sight of that. And we've taken on the belief, when we came out and were born for a couple of years, we learnt, we've taken on the belief we are this separate entity, this person, this individual. And we put the concepts and labels on that person, this so-called personal self, and says, I'm this, that and the other. I'm so wonderful, I'm so great, and form this egoic concept of what we believe ourselves to be. And we think we're going to understand this God. We're going to know this God. We're going to change the world. We're going to do all these sort of things. And when it doesn't seemingly happen, what do? Because it's a vibration movement of energy and the so-called opposites come up, we beat ourselves up with this conceptual image we got. The fear, the anger, the depression, the guilt, the shame, the unhappiness, the remorse. And we suffer because of that. Psychologically we suffer. And there's not a human being in this world that hasn't suffered and will continue to do so. But there are a lot of people down through the ages, compared to the people that have been on there, it's just like the seeds on the tree. They're not all going to sprout, but there will be a few that do. And they're what the scriptures are formed about. They're the ones that have understood and formed to show the way out of this psychological something, how to live naturally and actively, which is our true nature, rather than from the conceptual image of the me. And that's what I need. If you want to understand this, you need to recognise and look at it and see for yourself, because There's nobody going to give it to you. How can a reflection in the mirror tell the other reflection what to do, or what not to do? It can't. But you can't say those reflections are not in the mirror. Go up to the mirror and try and grab a reflection out of the mirror. All you do is grab the glass. Investigate this persona, this image that you see. All you'll do is reach the emptiness itself that you are. And that emptiness, as the Buddha told you, it's a cognizing emptiness. A cognizing is not a means of knowing or an intelligence. It's a cognizing emptiness. And he made the statement there and then that emptiness is form. That these forms that you and I are emptiness. Nothing but emptiness. He turned it around the other and pointed that out because the form is nothing but the emptiness, and the emptiness can't be anything other than the form. So we're all vibrating to that emptiness that are vibrating into pattern shapes and forms, but there's no actual reality to any of it. Any of it. It's all seeming appearance. But through these pattern shapes and forms, the capacity of reasoning, the intelligence of fusion seems to have developed, and we seem to see things as real, as actual, not recognising that they can all be pulled apart. And that's the way that an intelligence is functioning. It's functioning as these human forms that have the capacity of reasoning, which is much more developed than what it is in an animal, insect, bird, or whatever other things are out there that we haven't known. And that capacity of reasoning is very useful because we can invent things and evolve through different ways and means through this capacity of reasoning. Learns to invent things and build things and all this. But because it's a vibration of energy, like everything else, it's self-destructive as well. Because it's that same intelligence sends this vibration to forms, it's the same energy that tells me I'm not good enough, or I'm fearful, or I'm unhappy, I'm depressed, I'm anxious. And who's this telling? This me, or I am, this sense of presence. It translates through the thought. As the thought I am, it's telling this conceptual image, I am, that I'm not good enough, I'm fearful. It doesn't tell me what I really am. I am the no-thingness, the actuality that has the capacity of patterning, shaping, forming and appearing as everything, the one essence. I am that, and only and ever and will be that. That's what we point to and ask you to look at those, along those lines. We can go on and put more in it, and there's other people here who've had taste of this or understand it along the way. Might put out little pointers of something that will resonate, and that's what there's an innate intelligence in you that resonates and recognises when it hears or feels or tastes, touches or smells the reality. And that resonation brings about more clarity and understanding and recognising. Because we've strayed from what we truly are and got this conceptual image which we've reinforced day in, day out for years and years it is without questioning, brings it back to its simplicity and knowingness. And it's available for each and every one of us. So there it is, you can get into it and talk about it instead of being silent for the last, I stop off and then talk and time after it goes on. Get into it right now. Ask your question and talk and discussion and get into it. And see what resonates with you, that's all. Okay.
you say everything's like everything's an illusion, this physical form and all that, but I'm still, as I'm getting around in the world, like I'm still, whatever, experiencing it, seeing it, like it's still appearing there, but you're saying it's not real. It's not what's really going on.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Well, who is appearing to?
Right, yeah.
If it's not appearing to you, it must be how it's appearing or expressing. And it's probably expressing what you're saying is probably expressing similar or the same to a lot of other people also, like the world as we know it, things like that. But when we think it comes to the thinking and all the rest of it, we think it's appearing to this separate entity or individual. But it's the same intelligence energy that fashioned that body, that fashioned the thoughts, feelings, emotions, and the ideas and images and everything else. Inventions and talents and everything else that come out. And that is what you are. So you don't have to try and give it to the conceptual I that thinks it's doing something. That's our mistake. I think when I see it differently, or I understand it, or I know it.
Without that construction of what it is, yeah. Okay.
So to say it's not the two-ended stick, it's the one stick. It'll vibrate into the pairs of opposites. And that's what a vibration is, good, bad, pleasant, painful. Somewhat of a movement. When does it begin? Now. When does it end? Now. It's spontaneous.
There's one way to look at this, because it's such a thrilling concept. Form is emptiness. Everything is illusion. How do I see it? How do I experience it? Another way of looking at it is seeing the nature of everything as empty. Because see, whenever you look at something, you actually give it a label and you give it a meaning and you give it a history and you relate that history to yourself, and then it becomes meaningful and it becomes real. And the more you believe in its reality, the more real it is. But sometimes Bob is pointing not only the nature of things is empty, but also they don't have independent nature. Like the body that is exchanging the air with environment, is exchanging water, it's exchanging matter. The same with every other object, they're not independent. They depend on each other and on the whole universe. In this way, the nature of things to be empty is really easy to see, and then the next step to actually see them as empty. Bob often uses science, like look under the microscope and you'll see the vibrating field of pure probability. But even at that point, this is just a pointer. This is just an interesting idea that keep you investigating. Because the moment you actually find yourself at this point, that will be a dawning, I see what they meant. Because for the mind, it means nothing, and it always will mean nothing. It means paradox, and it doesn't, it's not the way to go to actually try to understand how is that illusion. Although it is, you see, the analogy of the dream, how is that illusion? That's kind of a good way to illustrate it. The dream at night that never happened, and yet it was so real. It was so fully furnished and exciting and contained emotions and peoples and places. Yeah, it's a fascinating topic, but and a certain amount of contemplation may be really exciting. You want to add something?
Yeah, so we can sort of see each other here.
Yes.
Can we?
Yes.
Well,
You're the only one.
So I'm just trying to relate that to what you're saying, Bob, that if it's an illusion, but we're all seeing the world from our own perspective. I mean, we don't talk about our own, but, you know, different perspectives, what's in this room.
Yeah. You're seeing,
Yes.
and then you say, I see.
That's right, but you don't say, I see this. I don't say, you
But
don't
you-
still say, I see you there.
Where you say, I see, you formed a subject, a seer. Who's seeing? Who's the subject of seeing? Is that I real? Or is it just a seeing? And you see the things in this room, that's become the object. You've divided the seeing into subject-object, which is dualism. But can the thought I see actually see?
No, not the thought.
No. So the thought I see can't see. So seeing is happening, but the thought I see can't see. So the seeing is the actuality, not the thought up. So the seeing is the natural, spontaneous functioning. It's expressing through that body. And you say, I am the body. I am this mind that's thinking or seeing this. Are you the body? Look at that. You can break it down into the elements. Air, earth, fire, water, space. That's what it's made up of. And those elements coming together enable that seeing to happen. So, can there be a seer without the thought I see? Can there be a thinker without the thought I think? There's thinking, seeing, tasting, touching, smelling. All this is happening spontaneously and naturally. When we divide it into seer the seen, the thinker the thought, the feeler and the felt, the taster and the tasted, we're dividing the undivisible into subject-object, dualism. And then it's the same with the thoughts. When the thoughts come up, good and bad, you're thinking in other way, good, bad, pleasant, painful, happy, sad, loving, hating, positive, negative. Watch your mind and see whatever thoughts come up. And they're always dualistically. Yeah, without the thought at all, what can be discriminated? What can be said about it? So the appearance is going to seem very real. But understand it's only real. The dream feels very real while you're in the dream. When you wake up, you'll see it's a total fiction that never existed at all. And we wake up from that dream into this dream, which is a waking dream. And the only way we take this dream to seeming waking dream to be real, because it has a continuity. It continues each morning from where it left off the night before. But the sleeping dream doesn't. It disappears. And you realise that after a while, when it's gone from your mind, it never was there. Just the same as you look back on your life. You know, a lot of it you'll hang on to these beliefs and all the rest of it, and you realise what they happened so many years and years ago, they're not real anymore. So we constantly relate to this dead image. It's not the actual thing anymore. And that's where we get lost. Relating to a dead image. The dead image, or anything dead, cannot keep up with life. Life is ever fresh and ever new. That's what they tell you in the scriptures. Non-conceptual, ever fresh presence awareness. Even if you're having a similar thought that you had yesterday or last week, last year, and you will have similar thoughts again. Each thought is fresh and new. It's not the old one. Though it might have the same meaning and same sense, but it's a fresh and new thought all the time. The thoughts you had are dead and gone. The traumas and dramas you had are dead and gone. We keep regurgitating them and putting the conceptual image on them and beating ourselves up with the old all the time. What conditioning is there if you don't think about it?
What about emotions, Bob? Now we're seeing touching, feeling, or feeling as in touch, but what about emotions?
Thought, feeling and emotion, when you look at it close, are one and the same thing. Thought, feeling and emotion are one and the same thing, just like steam, water and ice. Three aspects of the one. Steam is a very subtle, same with water. When it comes to be water, it's a bit not so subtle, and when it becomes ice, it becomes solid. Thought, feeling, emotion. You'll have a thought. It might be a sad thought, or you mightn't even realise you've had it, but it'll be there. And that thought will be there for a while, then the feeling will come up. The feeling of sadness will suffuse your body. And when that feeling gets strong enough, it'll suffuse the body, the emotion will come up, the tears will come. or the anger, the fear. So when you look at it, it's all the one vibrating energy that forms a thought, feeling, emotion, but we've separated them. And the feeling seems stronger than the thoughts, and the emotion seems worse. And that's what we lodge into and take the emotions to be real. But they're only a continuity of thought, which is, the feelings going into and making it emotion. Look at it and test it out and see for yourself. If it works, if it doesn't, come back and tell me. That's all that can happen. I can only point it out. You might see it in slightly different light and different ways from your background and all that you relate to it. But it'll all come back to the same thing if it's investigated. And that's the beauty of it, because the false cannot stand up to investigation. When you see something and recognise it as false, can you ever truly believe it again? You can't. And each time it comes up again, you look at it again, no, wait a minute, I saw through this before, was I seeing rightly? And if you're seeing truthfully, it'll be less and less. And the more it's seen true, the less and less hold it's got onto you, till you can't believe it at all, and it drops off. Nothing can live without energy. And if there's no energy of belief going into these things, where can they reside? Where can they fixate on? Where can they stay? Nowhere. They fall off. That's why investigation is necessary. Because we took on the belief in all these things when we learnt words. And we learnt words from our parents, schools, the society, and we never investigated them. Took them for granted. And the belief, energy of belief goes in. We believe they're real. Investigation and belief, if it's a belief, it'll be, if it's a fact, it'll stay. It won't be a belief anymore. But if it is a belief and you investigate it, it'll fall away. Because your definition of belief is an unquestioned acceptance of something in the absence of reason. An unquestioned, there it is, not to investigate, an unquestioned acceptance. We've taken it for granted. Acceptance of an alleged fact. All these things are alleged. We've taken on the allegations and believing they're true. Of an alleged fact without positive knowledge or proof. Until you investigate them, and if they're positive and truthful, you'll know. And if they're not, where are they going to, how long are they going to stay? And you're going to continue, put the energy of belief into something you know is not real. That's why we believe God, we believe this, we believe all the scriptures, we believe a lot of these things. Investigate them and see what they're saying is true. There's a lot of bullshit out there. But there is the truth there. And that's the scriptural saying. Know the truth. And the truth will set you free. The belief's not going to set you free. That's the truth that sets you free. And that's what Nisarga tells you. I am the way. Well, Christ told you, I am the way. I am the truth. I am the life. Not talking about himself, he's talking about that sense of presence that translates through the mind as that primary thought, I am. Go to that sense of presence. That's the way. That's the truth. That's the life. That sense of presence. Anyone who's not present right now, that sense of presence is there, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Well, that's the way. That's the truth. Stay with that. That's what Nisarga does. Just stay with that I amness. Stay with it till you recognise it and see it for what it actually is.
Yes, I'm finding Eckhart Tolle very helpful. He speaks of just being present in the moment to allow that space.
Presence awareness.
Yeah.
Are you unaware right now?
Am I unaware?
Yeah.
I think I'm aware.
Yeah, you must be aware. Could you open your mouth? Could you speak?
I'm just scared to say
Could
it.
you
You're very honest. I just said I think I'm aware, and you don't do that, do you? You just are aware.
Well, we try to grasp awareness as some sort of concept, but you're not. You know you're not unaware.
Yes.
So you must be aware.
Yes.
You know you're not unconscious, so you must be conscious, but you can't grasp consciousness with a concept either. What's consciousness? Nothing but existence or being.
So can you speak about death, Bob?
As I think it was it? So I forget his name now. Said death became a laughable impossibility. A laughable impossibility. What was born? It was only the thought I am that was born. And that's what dies. You can die now, and that's what St. Francis tells you. And dying to that sense of presence, dying to that, dying, only if I... Yeah.
Only to die.
Oh, daily, yeah.
Eternal life.
Only by dying I can have eternal life. So eternal life is not death, is it? So you're going to fear death when you know if you die to that sense of self, that's all. In so-called death, pattern, shapes and forms break down, but other pattern, shapes and forms express, all in the one essence. Can you postulate or think of anything that could be outside of space? What would it be in? You'd have to put something to put it in, and it's all taking place in space. There's nothing can be outside of space. And all this content must be space. It can't be outside of it. So what's become, what's gone, what's begun, what's finished, what hasn't. Appearances, seemingly so.
Is the tree one of your pointers, Bob? I heard a point about the tree and the definition of a tree. Is that one of yours?
That's Kathy. I think that was Kathy.
Oh. So the tree, yeah, so
The oak tree.
if you define a tree, so you'd say the trunk, the roots, the branches, the leaves. Is that the one? So but if you took but if you take away a leaf, it will still survive. You take away a branch, it will still survive. You could cut the tree in half and it'd probably still grow.
Yeah. Where did it come from? A seed. Break the seed down. Where did that come from? Another tree.
Yeah.
In each seed, the potential is to cover the earth in trees. The potential in each seed. It doesn't do anything to do with that.
And if you remove the tree though, so we define a tree like that, it would survive if you take all those bits away, but if you remove the tree from the soil, it wouldn't survive. If you remove the tree from the sunlight, it wouldn't survive. If you remove the tree from the
Break it down, what's it made of?
atmosphere.
But what before it's made of, what is it? It's nothing but wood. And wood's one of the elements. Like everything else, like this body is one of the elements.
So it means all of that.
Yeah.
Without it, it can't survive. So you can't really define it as just being those elements. Those other elements are more important to it than the actual bits that make it up.
Where does it go? It's all right down to a birth. It becomes ash. It rots away, back into the earth. Where does it go? Has it gone anywhere? Has the residual, what's left over, has it gone to a place called hell or another place called heaven? Or it's got out of space? Where is this heaven or hell? Can you take that out of space? What would it be in?
It's a kitchen table.
It's a kitchen table.
Utilitarian heaven.
And that is probably why, because what you say, that's beautiful illustration of how nature of things is empty and how nothing stands on its own, has no independent nature. And that's why, what Bob is usually suggesting, instead of investigating all the perceived objects, we investigate what is perceiving them. because we could analyze every tree and that would be bringing us to the same place, but it will take thousands of years. Every object of perception. And now from this standpoint, okay, what is the projector that is projecting that? What is the source of the perception? Who is there? Who is the subject if everything else is an object? And then obviously body is not a subject because body is also being perceived. Even the I is somehow known. So it's not the subject. So to find the subject is absolute impossibility, because to make it actually subject is a subject. I can't vacate it to evaluate it, because then it's an object. It's not a subject anymore. So this is the paradox, actually investigating the pure subjectivity and finding its nature completely undescribable as nothing, because it doesn't have, even the elements don't apply to the subjectivity, to that pure consciousness. This is the point where any sort of subjectivity shows its own nature as empty, and yet it's still there, and yet it still exists. It's still being cognizing. Is pure cognition. It is the source of cognizing. And then the objects, of course, that's the different story. But if there is no one who the objects are to be related to, there is no suffering anymore. Because yes, everything still appears and is still magnificent, and a contemplation like that. Yes, what Bob was saying, the tree comes from another tree, from the seed, and it's just a dance. It's beautiful, but then it is not good or bad anymore. There's nothing wrong about it anymore. So the suffering is gone, and then life shows up in its beauty without the harm element, instead of the discontentment or the sense of inadequacy or the sense of void or unhappiness being the core issue around which the whole life evolves. I gotta fix myself, I gotta get better, I gotta extinguish that anxiety, that angst. Now the center of life is the peace, is the contentment, is the nothing wrong, is the nothing strong anymore. And apart from that, everything just flows, comes and goes as it always does. But there is no problem.
Go back to that tree, have a look at it, a little seed. And put it in the earth, it needs to go into the earth, put a bit of water on it and a bit of heat on it, it'll sprout. Now there's an innate intelligence in that, because it sends roots down into the earth. And when you look at a tree, you go outside, you go through some of these railway cuttings where they've cut down deep into the rock, and there'll be a split and there'll be a tree on the side, and you'll see the roots found its way down between these things to where it found the nutrients. And it goes the other way and grows up in the bark, wood. Now the sap, the life essence runs through it, where it's getting the sustenance from the earth. In winter, it has a spell. It shuts down. What happens? The leaves fall off, branches, it appears to be dead. Then again, a bit of warmth, a bit of heat, and a bit of water on it in the springtime, and it sprouts. And little green buds will appear on those branches and twigs and everything else, and then form into leaves. The leaves and anything else in it will form into flowers, and the flowers will fall into fruit. Doesn't that imply that the tree, there's a wondrous innate intelligence diffusing that tree? It's a knowingness. It's not knowing this or knowing that, or reasoning, I've got to do this and that. That's a capacity humans have. Other animals, birds and insects don't have that particular capacity. The tree doesn't need any words, concepts or ideas. It knows what to do. It's like everything else suffused with intelligence. Plays its part in life.
And it does it inseparate from the environment. Like it sends some sort of a warmth in the earth. It means a little bit more of a longer days in the sun, and the buds come up. It's hard to say it is the intelligence of the tree and not the intelligence of the sun. It is all connected.
Yeah.
But the tree doesn't have a beginning or an end.
No.
It doesn't. It's only so that subjectivity that Kat's referring to, as a isolated
objective me. We can never know that. We can't know the subjectivity. Can't be known from the object. Okay? The object cannot know the subjectivity. It's totally impossible for that to occur. That's why, I mean, Bob says at the beginning, you know, start from that you already are, that awareness. Okay? Great. But to come to know, words get really difficult here, but to come to know that pure subjectivity, the only thing that gets in the way of knowing that is the objectivity. And the objectivity is the me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a subject.
Mm.
If you can be aware of your me, if you can be aware of your thoughts, if you can be aware, yeah, but I'm here, it can't be it. Because there's something that's aware of that. So that you believe yourself to be is not it. And that illusion stuff that, you know, that what you're referring to, Margaret, it's the world is still that pure, absolute subjectivity. The problem is we think or believe it's something else. We just believe that, and we've been taught to do that. Okay? So how I perceive myself or how I perceive the world, that's the illusion. It's what we think it is. That's the illusion. The fact that there's a floor and a chair and a so on and so forth. Yes, it's all there. It's not like it's pretending to be there, but that's, you know, it's there. But it's not what we think it is. What we think it is the illusion, or the delusion, if you like.
Mm.
It's just not what we think it is.
You don't put it as an opinion on it.
Anything at all, but more importantly, see that that's what we do about self. Forget the chair, forget the tree, forget the sky, forget the seeds, you know, like that we do out there. That's what we do with self, with me.
That's the
That's
biggest object of all.
And that's the illusion. That's the delusion.
Mm.
That's incorrect.
Mm.
It's absolutely incorrect. To be aware of something, you've got to be separate from it. Have to be. That's to be aware. That's basic. To be aware of something, you've got to be separate from it. So if you can be aware of this body, if you can be aware of a feeling or an emotion, or if you can be aware of thought, yeah, whatever it is that you can be aware of is objective. It is not you. What you are is the pure subjectivity that is aware of all of that.
That's right.
But what gets in the way is the belief that what I am is the object. It's only a belief. Absolutely, purely just a belief, a thought system, a believed in process. So we're not actually really, if we're seeing it through the veil of the mind, or if we're seeing life through the veil of thought, yeah, we're not seeing life at all. We're in a dream, like totally in a dream. We're not seeing what actually is. And what actually is completely undivided. There's no division in it anywhere. It is that one subjectivity. Out there, in there, everywhere. Doesn't matter what direction you want to point. It is all that one. But this process is about, you know, if you can't fully grasp what Bob talks about at the very, very beginning, which is start from that you already are, that pure awareness. Okay? If that doesn't crack it, then what you have to do is come to know what you're not. You have to go through that process. I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not.
And that's okay.
Totally okay.
So Bob you spoke about people having different talents or whatever. So if you get a strong desire, say, to write a book, and so that would be your talent as a writer, and you just let that sort of come. You're not forcing it that I have to
But
be.
you wouldn't be doing it.
There's no your talent though.
That's not my talent.
It's not your, there's no person.
It'll be that life using that body to express.
It's the force using you to do that.
No,
writing.
it's not using you.
There's no you.
There's no you.
Okay.
Well, you've got, yeah, but it's important. You've got, but it's important. You've got to hear your own communication, because your own communication will keep enforcing that meanness.
Oh yeah, but it's the intelligence working.
Only. There is no you. There is no me. There is no
Can you
Colin.
say through the form? The intelligence
Unique
working
pattern of
through the-
energy.
You
You're a
could.
unique
Oh,
pattern
you
of
did.
energy.
Okay.
Yeah, you could, but again, that's just the mind trying to grasp it and divide it up. Oh, it's the form. It's not even that.
It's not a new cult or new religion or anything like that. Shakespeare told you, and it's been said, nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Thinking.
And also, Bob, you often say that this is the one essence, and it's not even an essence, it's the nothingness expressing through the body and as the body. So it is, everything is, the unique talents, like let's say bird is singing beautifully, so is that life essence making the bird sing. But also the body of the bird is the same one essence. So it's really nothing that is not that.
And a different animal will see that bird completely differently, maybe, different colours, different. So whatever light waves are coming in, doing different things, it's just as real as each thing decides that it's real.
Oh, it's dinner.
So yeah, so it's just a movement to this energy just doing stuff. We can't actually really label it anything at all.
That's right.
It's just kind of nature.
It's just
Yeah.
activity, pure activity.
Play of consciousness.
Your words are clumsy.
Words are
They are
very clunky, the mind, and just works in the pairs of opposites, and every question that arises from the me, and everything's relative to the me. Until you see that there is no me, every question that arises, every question about death or writing, or every question, until you see that you're not that, you're not the me, and you're not everything related to it, the questions just stop coming up, because all questions are from a memory, and a memory isn't you. If you have amnesia and your memory doesn't work, would you stop existing? No, that's right. And so the memory of you is not you.
I'd sort of like to know how people relate this. So you go back to the office on Tuesday, and you've been here and become aware of all this. How do you live that?
You
Well,
don't.
I mean, you don't live.
You
No.
don't.
Let it.
No.
It shows
You
us.
be- you
That's
be-
what happened.
You're being lived anyway. It's an illusion that we believe we're the doer of everything.
Yeah.
Total, complete illusion. You believe that you wake up on, I was going to say Monday morning, Monday's a public holiday. On Tuesday morning, you decide to have a shower, you decide to have breakfast, you decide what you're going to wear, you decide to get in the car, you decide I'll drive this way today because it looks a bit busy that way. Then you get to work and you decide what you're going to do when you get into work and so on. That's all actually not true. Absolutely none of it is true. There is no you deciding to do anything. All of that just purely happens by itself, regardless as to whether you believe you're there and you're in control and doing it. It just happens. You can start to observe it just with your own body. Literally, your own body. I mean, you can be aware of. You can come to a certain degree, you can be aware that thoughts just arise and disappear. So you can start to see that there's no doer there. They just come up and from God knows where and disappear into God knows where. Okay, that's generally where we start to have a bit of a look. You know, the powerlessness over the thinking process, over what occurs between our so-called ears. Yeah, and we start to see, God, I'm actually not the creator of any of this thinking. It just happens. Indeed, if I was the creator, I'd switch it off for a little while, have a break. Yeah? But you can see the exact same thing with your body. Watch what your body does throughout the course of the day. From this point forward, just be aware of what the body does that's got nothing to do with you. You're not doing it. You're not even present 90%. I'm not referring to you, by the way, when I say this, but we're not even present, 99% of the time throughout the course of the day. We're so busy buying into the illusion that we're not even aware that this body just functions all by itself. It goes where it wants to go. It drives the car. It showers itself. It feeds itself.
Bob, you wanted to add something?
Well, even as you're sitting there, you're breathing right now, seeing right now, hearing right now, tasting. What are you doing about any of that? Hmm? Life. You are the life. Isn't that what Christ said? I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. Can't you say the same thing?
Yes.
Right. We'll take it. Know it for certain.
So when death comes, that doesn't make any difference
Yeah.
much. You just keep
You're
going.
projecting to a future time. Is there such a thing as a future time?
There's only now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
So what are you going to worry about death for?
Well, I'm not worrying about it. I'm just interested.
What interesting? What's the use of having interest in it as something that hasn't happened yet?
Yeah, but when
And
you see a dead body,
uh,
you just know that the life isn't there.
That's right.
And then, that's what convinces me that there is life
Yeah, but
after the body dies.
that's just a perception as well.
Oh, is it?
Well, there's still life in the body. There's still microbes and there's all sorts of stuff that goes on in the dead body. But we look at the dead body and we go, oh, that's dead. Full stop. We just go, that's dead. But it's not. It's just not what we think it is. That's just an example. Yeah, the body will, whether it's cremated or put in the ground, either way, it still ends up being a part of life. It still ends up being a part of the elements. It's still all part of the same life force. The body I'm talking about, same life force. You, who and what you actually are, don't die. Because you weren't born.
And then there is another observation that is actually because we heard that voice. Terry, when he was telling the story, it was a brilliant way to actually illustrate. We going to the office and we think we chose what to wear, which way to go, we chose what to do, we decided. And actually the body was doing all that thing, but there is a commentary in the head, there is a commentator that is saying, I have chose this, I have chose that. And as far as we can remember, till the age probably of 2 or 3 of very first memories we have, it was always that voice with us. And that voice contains all the emotions, all the worries about us, all about, it translates everything as relative to us, gives meaning to things. So that voice of the commentator, or the narrative self. This is something that is most deeply, we naturally most deeply identify as us. Like we can say, of course, I'm not the body because if someone cut off my leg, I'm still here. We can say, I'm not my thoughts because, of course, the thoughts are constantly changing. But there is a deep identification and deep kind of connection to that voice that was always guiding me, telling me what to wear, telling me what to go, telling me what to believe in. And that very voice, we don't want to die, but that very voice, for those in who it did die, it was the separate self that did die, all of them say they would not trade it for anything in the world. Because with that narrative self, with that voice, this association and dying of that voice, the immense freedom of living the life without suffering, of living the life without relating came. So we feel like, no, I have to protect my voice because this is the core of what I am, I don't want to die. But those, like Jesus, like Buddha, like Christ, like Bob, like all those Eckhart Tolle, all those guys who actually managed to recognize themselves as something prior to narrative self, something before the voice even started chatting, something that exists whether the voice is there or not. They do not have any regrets of that commentator to go, of that credit taker, the one who says, I've chose what to wear, I've chose my partner, I've chose my job, my career, I did it. That one is imposter, it just takes credit. It doesn't do anything. It's like Bob just said, do we say, I do the seeing or I do growing my hair? No, to certain things we do agree that life does it. But some other things we take credit and we say, no, this was me. And that me built on all that throughout life, all that little credit taking things, and guilt and blame, that mistakes that it made, wrong decisions, wrong choices. That one built up to the point of, and the identification and the cherishing of that inner self or inner voice came with it. But it's really just a bundle of sounds and images going on, overlaying the naturalness of expression of life. It's like a little advertising strap on the Facebook, some of the, like a subtitles, something that doesn't really have to be there.
As you just said, voice is nothing but sounds. Sounds are vibration. Vibration's a movement of energy. Still the same.
And when that one is quiet, obviously there is no one to ask the question, what about death or what about anything? Because it's only always that narrative self that wants to know anything. Because when that one, since in Min says, when we stop talking and thinking, there is nothing that is not known. Everything is known, everything is clear. It's only the question arising and saying, I don't know, I'm curious, I want to know. There is a me that wants to know something. So it arises, the me arises within the structure of the sentence, with the question, with the curiosity. But that is the same voice, the whole narrative self that we know, it seems like it's the same, because it's always just a different thought showing up. But because it is so strongly built up into the memory and so believed in and so cherished as the core of my being, as my source, my heart, my emotional core, that's why it creates that persistent illusion of course there is a me. Well, no, it's just sense of presence and sensations. Sense of presence and sensation of sadness or joy or whatever, or sensations without label. Presence and just vibration, that from the memory I may label, but that's anxiety. No, it's not. It's just a label that creates the anxiety. It's just sense of presence, always only that, and sensations.
Thank you.
I was just going to say, when I'll probably set myself up here, the mental gremlin, but when I'm in that complete presence, completely right in the now, the mind can't, it's like it can't go future or back, it can't operate. So I'm free.
Yeah.
So and word this right, is it better, I'm not going to say it right, but is it better to try and be completely in the now versus when you're still the self and just observe and the thoughts come up? You realise there's no me there, but the thoughts come up, but they can still drag you. Does that make sense? So it's sort of sometimes it's I'm thinking it's better to try and stay completely in the now.
You can't choose. You
no
can't
choice,
choose.
no
choice.
You can only see what shows up.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
that's
if
right.
I go to observe, if I go into meditation, observe my thinking, I just go drop, the thinking drops away completely in the now versus just let it all will come up, and that way I can get dragged a bit easier.
But who's doing that? Who's letting it? Isn't it just one part of the mind trying to
I guess it is, yeah.
fix another part of the mind?
Yeah, and that's sort of what I suspected, but I just wanted to.
You were right.
But do you try to stay completely in the now?
No.
No.
Not. There's no me there, but it's.
Comes back to
what-
noticing whatever's noticed. Just the
See, look, you're still trying to grasp something that's ungraspable. You really are, and that's okay. It's okay. You'll eventually work that out. You do. I can't tell you that, but you will eventually work that out. Okay.
Because every time you see that, you're cognising emptiness, and you can't be anywhere else but in the now. Everything happens in the now.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But you can still be that cognising emptiness and have the thoughts come up.
Well, absolutely.
Which-
Try stopping the thoughts.
But it feels a lot liberated with no thoughts.
It's
Lot
just
more
another
liberated.
thought.
Look,
Comparing to what?
all the
Compared to lots of thoughts.
Yeah. Bob, you wanted to say something?
It's all spontaneous.
you know,
It comes and goes, leave it coming out.
There's no boat to miss, mate.
And also, if the thought comes up, if the thought spontaneously comes up, okay, I'll be watching thoughts. You don't take credit for that thought. You don't say, I've chose to watch the thought because I want to be more like what Nisargadato, earnest. I want to be more earnest, so I will be doing this action. If the thought arises and the body follows the action, don't take any credit. Don't say it was my decision. This is what's happening right now. And then another moment comes up where that thought doesn't arise. It's completely not available at this moment. So you have a different moment, and then some different activity is being witnessed. It's like, and of course, coming to the places like here, the thoughts, that inspiring thoughts, which you asked whether it would be better or not, that may be arising. But the question, can I choose that thought or can I reject, should I choose it or should I reject it? That's another thought, and that thought already assumed that you have the free will to do something. Well, if you just see the thought and the follow-up, and then another thought and the follow-up, and then the discussion between the thoughts, should I go this way or should I go this way? Just see it as another thought. The question, maybe I can choose this, that's just another thought.
Yeah. I think it's for me, trying to think it can stay in the now and it's still me there trying to do it.
but understand exactly what Kat is saying. The me is nothing but just another thought. Only.
Yes.
There's nothing there. Like literally, there's nothing there. But we're so used to hearing that inner voice, that narrative, since we're two years of age. You know, there's just been this narration that goes on, and we've never, ever once questioned its validity. We're not told to. We're not taught to. None of us are asked to look in that direction. We just assume me is, that there's a me here. And everyone else seems to be walking around with their own bundle of meanness, you know, like it's fairly normal. You know, that's kind of what everybody's doing. And you kind of, you know, trip into the door here and you're confronted with truth and fact. Let's just deal with truth and fact. Forget the spiritual nonsense. Forget it, you know. Let's just deal with fact, truth, what we actually know. And come from there. Truth, not a belief, not something that appears to be, not something that we imagine into being, just truth and fact. So what we're asked to look for is there an actual me here? And if there is, where is it? Where does it reside? Yeah? Where is the so-called me that believes it's choosing thought? All right? So this me that believes it's choosing thought, where is it located whereby it's saying, okay, now I'm going to construct this sentence and this idea, and it puts all this like these words together, one after another, or these concepts together, then it throws that up into its own awareness and then sees it all as a thought and then goes, oh, okay, look, I chose all that. Now I'm going to act on, like, come on. It's ridiculous. If you actually look, it's ridiculous. There's no me here doing any creating of this. For a start, the me works too slow. It's so slow. It's so incredibly slow compared to the spontaneity of life and the spontaneity of thoughts that just appear. Every single word that's coming out of my mouth right now, it's happening too quick for me to be sitting back going, okay, now say this, Terry. Say it quick. It's too quick. There isn't a me here doing any of this. It's purely 100% spontaneously occurring.
And getting back to the actual practical question of why it feels more liberated, it's just that sometimes when you're having thoughts, you're then having a judgment thought, which is really constriction. The thought that happens to be there, the package that is reacting. So it feels more constricted on top of the thought. So it's not the first thought itself.
That's good.
Analysis paralysis.
All the me use is just a thought. It's a pattern of thoughts that arises, and contained within that me pattern of thoughts is going to be your history. Okay? Everything that's ever occurred to you, there's a pattern of thought there that arises in relation to who and what we believe ourselves to be. Okay? Then there'll be other patterns of thoughts that'll pop up throughout the course of the day that will then go into conflict or agreement, doesn't matter, with your me pattern of thoughts. So all that's ever happening is there's a relationship going on. The only thing that's relating to one another is thoughts. Only. There's no me there. There's nothing solid. There's not a person there. It's literally just thoughts. It's the same as, you know, when we believe we're in a relationship with somebody. We're not in a relationship with that person. Let's say you, Margaret, I'm not in a relationship with you. I'm in a relationship with what I think about you. That's my relationship. So it's all me-centered. And that being the case, I can never see you for who and what you actually are. You and I could never absolutely connect. It's not possible, because you'd be sitting over there having ideas and thoughts about beliefs and perceptions and concepts going on about who and what you think I am. So that's your relationship. So there's just patterns of thoughts in relationship with one another. That's it. That's actually what's going on. You know, we're not in relationship with anything. We're so self-obsessed and me-obsessed and me-concerned that we miss what's really actually going on. And whatever I believe or perceive or conceptualize about you is completely wrong.
Because the description's never the described.
Completely wrong.
Yeah.
The description is never the actual.
Yeah.
It's not the actual, it's only a description. All I have in my head is a description about you. About Mike, Sean, whoever it is in this room, I'll have a description going on in my head. I like that about that person, I don't like that about that person. Whatever, yeah?
Instead of just being there, being with.
But I'm not in a relationship with anyone whilst functioning and operating that way. I'm in a totally self-obsessed, self-absorbed relationship with me. And we miss actual the real connection. We miss it. Completely miss it, because I believe that who and what you are is what I think who and what you are is.
And you also believe what you think you are.
Yeah.
Instead of just spontaneously being with what is.
It's all the same. Inwards, outwards. What I think about me, wrong. What I think about you,
That's right.
wrong.
And the me is in the past, and so Bob told me once a really good way of checking on things If you have a concept about yourself and someone else, if you're in the memory, you're wrong. That's it.
Full stop.
Full stop.
Leave it alone.
Leave it alone.
Do you remember that, Bob? You want to say that one?
If you're in
Sorry,
the
son.
if you're in the past, you're wrong.
Mm.
But that was in relation to 12 steps. That was really deep realization around the 12 steps.
Mm. Mm.
You want to say it, Bob, or no?
No.
So when you say investigate what the truth is,
Yeah.
so how does that happen?
Well, you have to come to know what you're not.
You have to come to know.
Otherwise, you're going to be trying to look for what you are from what you're not.
And what you are already. Already that.
You can't find what you already are, but you can certainly come to see what you're not, what you've believed yourself to be. That you can come to see with lots and lots of different pointers that happen here.
Mm.
Lots.
Mm.
You know, are you the creator of your own thoughts? Right. So your whole self, your whole meanness is based on thoughts. So who's the creator of your me?
The life force.
So what's left, if that's the case? I mean, that's a great answer, but what's actually truly left?
Well, that's all there is. The life, the force, the
Okay.
intelligence, the whatever.
Yeah,
Whatever pops up is what is.
yeah. So so now what?
Well, you're there and I'm here.
Yeah?
And everyone else is here.
No.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
It appears to be,
Oh,
if we label it in different ways.
You're not there, I'm not here, and no one else is here. That's the truth. That's the actual truth.
There's only life itself.
well, they're kind of words, aren't they? It's the living force in the forms that are here. Would you say that?
You could.
And the forms are just labels that pop up.
I guess what I'm trying to really point to
Yes.
is there still a sense of meanness there? Is there still a sense of separateness there? Is there still a sense of, look, yep, I understand this and I've got all the right answers to throw out there, but I still feel like I'm here.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Okay,
There you go.
okay. So that needs to be seen.
Right,
Yeah, instead of just throwing out the right answers. Try not to do that.
okay, I promise.
Yeah, like well,
I promise.
it just. My point there is, it doesn't help.
No.
What really helps would be, look, I can sit here and I can throw out all the right jargon and all the right answers, but the truth is, if I'm to be brutally honest, I still feel like I'm here. Me still feels like I'm here.
Yeah.
Then you can work with that.
Yeah, well, I do feel like I'm here.
Yeah.
I feel like you're there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Leave the there out of it. It's only here and now. If you divided it,
Here.
as soon as you say there,
Both here. Is that all right?
Well, look, it's not about being right or wrong in this context.
Well, I mean,
Being
is
here.
that truth that
It's-
you and I are here?
You need to know. Who cares what I say, whether that's truth or not? Who cares what anyone says, whether that's truth? Stop trying to get the truth or the wrong answer. Stop trying to get that here.
All right.
Look for yourself. You need to look for yourself. You need to come to understand, or at least see, who or what am I? What is this? And I mean literally, look. Not with this, not with concepts, not with ideas, but sitting with and observing, seeing. That's all. Just observing, seeing what's really going on here. Not trying to grasp it intellectually, not trying to grasp it with the mind. That will just end up frustrating the shit out of you, which might be what needs to happen too, and that's okay. That's okay also. But what you're really trying to find is You're not trying to find the me, by the way. Okay? What you're actually trying to do is find out whether there actually is one. Don't assume there's one and go looking for it.
No, you look for the falsehoods.
Yeah.
For what's not there.
Yeah.
And the direct route of it's working, it's all in the pause of thought. So if you pause a thought, what can you say?
I'll pause the thought.
What have you got?
Nothing.
So that's it, that's not in that moment, that's it. That's the direct route when that shows up. And
Yeah.
then the other one is when it's not showing up.
That's where you are beyond the mind, when the thinking stops. Because mind is only thinking.
I get the feeling that it might be trying to find the right words to describe you and me, you know, and that's kind of the mind taking you somewhere else. You know, like, well, how do I describe this? How do I describe going to work on Tuesday? How do I describe you being there and me being here? And again, that's the mind going somewhere else. You know, it's taking you, you know, where Terry's pointing is forget about trying to describe what this is. Have a look, investigate that source, because that's where the answer is. And then those ways of describing work and me and you here sitting in this room, and you know, that will find its own way. But trying to describe it before you've actually finding who you really are or what you're not is kind of the mind jumping 10 steps ahead and going, okay, I get that, but what are you? And it's the mind, you know, forget about trying to describe what I do at work. Forget about trying to describe, am I here and you're there? How do I describe this? That's the mind trying to find a way to write. It's like, forget it. Once you get that, the words will come naturally, spontaneously. That the mind's trying to find, how do I describe this? How do I write about this? And it's like you're going, the mind's taking you somewhere else, not forward.
Beautiful. This is such an important pointer. Thank you for that, because what we actually learned as the narrative self is that if we want to understand something, we want a description of it, because you know, when someone is showing you a parrot on the tree, you've got to know what to look for. And very often we think, when we describe things, we think we know. Like we describe electricity, oh yeah, I know what it is because it has been described. But this is about non-conceptual awareness. So it is, when we say this is about the understanding, we right away jump in the conclusion that it will be an intellectual understanding, the same way we understand another language or another person. There is something to do with concepts. But no, this understanding comes from beyond the mind. It is the knowing, it is the same type of knowing, like the knowing that I am is actually exactly that one knowing. Like, I don't know who I am or what I am, but I know that I exist. I can't try and stop existing, or if someone tell me no, you don't exist, I won't be able to believe it, because this is a certainty. This is something that I know even if I don't have the language. I know it in every language, that the sense of presence, the being, is something that doesn't need to be described, and it can't be described, but is still totally known. And yeah, the word understanding, Kathy, what you were saying, the understanding kind of implies the description. Okay, if it will be described well enough, then I will follow the description and find the described. It's not going to work in this particular area, because, as Bob was saying, it is the space in which all the descriptions are already included. So it can't grasp from beyond itself. It makes itself known when all the describing and all the intellectual grasping and understanding ceases to be. This is what Tony mentioned. The moments when you pause the thought, the moments when there is nothing going on, no questions, no answers, no understanding, no description, nothing. In these moments, there is still something that is absolutely certain beyond any understanding, the fact of the existence of the being, the consciousness aware of its own existence. Everything else is added and is conceptual. What Terry was saying, a relation between people is so clouded by our concepts about what I am and what the other person is, that there is no relation really. There is just some sort of a confusion going on. But if there is no concepts, it's just the sense of presence here. It's just the sense of being. It doesn't have any body, it doesn't have any face. If I don't have concept of what it is, it's just being. And if I don't have a concept about what anything else is, it's all just being. But the description, brilliant. It's just such an important pointer. The understanding with the mind, trying to.
And I like that narrative self.
Mm.
You talk about that in a different way, that preciousness. It's the last stumbling, you know?
Yeah.
And it's been with you for so long. It's like,
It's like you.
yeah.
Feels like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's this preciousness about it, this like,
Protecting it. And
yeah.
Preciousness. Yeah, I like the
child,
word.
the child in you somehow. It's like, oh no, I can't let go of that.
Mm.
Or
But-
fall apart.
But also what you, Kathy, pointed, the mind often says, okay, I get that, next. This is, oh yeah, there's just life. So what about this? That's
Yeah.
thinking,
Takes you.
thinking that we actually got something. We have absolutely no idea what electricity is, even though it's so well described, and even though it's used so commonly. Nobody knows what it is. And it's actually good to not know. The not knowing and not needing to know is when the narrative self is absent. Because when the narrative self is still there, it wants to know, it wants to understand, it wants to have description. When this one is gone, it's just being. And I don't have any desire to define myself and know what I am. It's just no desire whatsoever, because every definition would still be the description, not the described.
Words, not the
And-
real, whatever word you put on it, not the thing. Here is there is here.
Experience of the paused thought.
Mm.
I experienced the not wanting to let go of a self the other sleepless night. It was sleepless. It was I wanted to exist. I wanted to have an answer. I needed to have an answer, and I needed control. And because I was sick this week, that brought up, how am I going to get well, and where's this going to lead to? So the thought of just tomorrow was just driving, this self insane. And somewhere in all of that, fear of losing control, or knowing that how do I just let go? How do I
Trust.
how? And there was I walked over to my phone, and Terry had posted something about free will, and from this point forward, be happy, and it just diluted everything. It diluted all of that, because there was only this point, and it wasn't saying me be happy, it was just saying be happy. And there was like, there's no me to have to worry about tomorrow, or me to have to control. There's just beingness, there's just this point. And if I got to choose, why choose being miserable at all? Just be, it was a paradox, it's just be happy.
Take the happiness off and just be.
Yeah,
Just be.
just be.
Because that's the only thing you can, for sure, is exist.
And so the fear of death, I suppose, I know you were talking about a fear of death, but in that being unwell and in that sleepless night, a fear of death was there. And it was, it underlies a lot of who I become.
Well, I think most questions that arise from a memory of ourselves is actually in a way a fear of death, because it's the me dying. Yeah.
What did you just say this morning at breakfast? It's Easter Sunday.
Oh, I forget.
Was it the dead? You know that the dead is risen, or you know what was
Oh
it?
yeah, I said it was something because it's
Easter
Easter
Sunday.
Sunday.
it's Easter Sunday. I said I can't even remember what I said. It was profound anyway.
The sound was what we were.
That's what it goes. It was something like the self, you know, the new.
You realise
It's
or
risen.
recognise the here and nowness of everything. Where are you going to go if you don't?
Yeah. And also, isn't the fear of death just the love of life?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, that's right. That's right.
But in the focusing, I suppose, on wanting to not be dead, there was the absence of experiencing life. There was not being happy.
Yeah.
There was not just being present to what is happening here,
Yeah.
right now, the life that's actually, in actuality, happening.
Totally. Yes. Yes. And it
So-
was also none of your doing. Once you recognize it, you see that you didn't do it. It was just the feeling that arose. The beginning of the contraction and the end of contraction, they all arising. It feels like there is a me involved, and that's why it feels so contracted. But me is a fiction. It's a habit.
Anyway, time has caught up with us.
Thanks, guys.
Even though time's a concept.
Yeah, so you're innocent of any sort of me arising. Everyone is. It's just a habit. It's not.